Hey everyone! Today I'm sharing 5 easy DIYs using Dollar Tree's peel and stick wallpaper. So let's get started. Dollar Tree has such beautiful peel and stick wallpapers, and I've been having so much fun finding ways to use it in my decor. For the first DIY, I'll be using this large silver tray from Dollar Tree. It was $1.25 when I picked it up, as well as the peel and stick wallpapers I'll be using today. And I know prices have been changing lately, so whenever I can, I'll let you know if there's a better deal somewhere else for similar items. I'll be using this peel and stick paper. This one's gotta be my favorite of them all, with the birds and the flowers, and it has that soft vintage botanical feel. Before I stick it on, I wanted to paint the edge of the tray, and I'm using a khaki color, but really you can go with anything that complements your wallpaper. A soft mossy green, a warm taupe, or even a muted blush could look really pretty. I'm also giving the inner surface a quick coat too, just to keep it all consistent and make sure none of that shiny silver peeks through the lighter parts of the paper. Next, I'm going to cut the paper so it fits perfectly inside that center oval. I thought I'd make a little template first using some craft paper, and I just creased it around the shape to get the size right. And then I just use that as a guide to cut out the peel and stick wallpaper. Now, I was really loving how it was coming together, but the paint was looking a little flat. So to add a little dimension and warmth, I'm going to rub on some gold rub and buff along the raised outer rim of the tray. It really brings out that pretty texture and gives it a soft, slightly aged look. I thought I'd do this step before adding the wallpaper so I don't smudge anything later. Then I'm just removing the backing paper and sticking it in place. So I just carefully peel back a little at a time and smooth it down as I go. I just tried to line it up slowly and press it down as I went. It sticks really well on its own. You can also give it a light coat of clear spray sealer. It's totally optional, but it helps protect the paper and also seals over the painted edges. And that's it. This DIY is all done. For the next DIY, I'll be using this hexagon-shaped cork bulletin board from Dollar Tree. I love the shape, and they've got a lot of potential for decor projects. They come wrapped in a clear plastic, which is nice, so it keeps it clean and protected. Although there was a small dent on one of the top corners, so I just decided to make that the bottom. I'll be using one of these wood planks from Dollar Tree and cutting it down to fit right along the top of the cork. To get the right size, I'm just using the cork board as my guide. I place it right on top, mark where I need to cut, and then score it several times with a utility knife. Super simple, and it works great for getting a clean edge. On the wood piece, I'll be using this green and gold leaf peel and stick paper with a deep green background and the little touches of gold. This one is so pretty. I'll be trimming it to fit right on top of the wood plank. And just to keep it from sliding while I'm tracing, I peel back a small section of the back to lightly stick it down, and it just holds it in place. Then I'm just using a craft knife to carefully trim it down. You could also cut it a little bigger and sand off the extra. Either way works, and both give you a nice clean finish. Then I'm just removing the backing paper and sticking it in place. Just press it down gently and smooth it out as you go. For the next part, I'll be using 14 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by hot gluing 3 blocks together end to end. I'll make 2 sets of that, and then I'm gluing the 2 sets together side by side. Next, I'm gluing 2 blocks together end to end, and I'm making 2 sets like that. Then I'm gluing those 2 sets side by side. Then I'm making another set just like that. Now I'm gluing those block pieces along the outer edge of the wood, one across the bottom and one on each side. I did double the blocks up to raise it a little higher, and so it just creates enough space to tuck in a few flowers or greenery. To glue it on the board, I thought I'd use Titebond Quick and Thick glue for a little extra hold. I'm just running a line of it along the blocks, and then I place it right on top of the cork board. I also stand it up to make sure the bottom is nice and flush, and that way I can set it on the surface and not just have to hang it up. I replaced the hanger with a thicker leather strap, and this DIY is done. . For this next DIY, I'm using this wood frame from Michaels. I'll be using this beautiful floral peel and stick wallpaper for the background. It has these soft neutral flowers and greenery, and it has a mix of muted soft tones, and it pairs really nicely with wood. I'll be trimming down the paper to fit, and so I'm just creasing the paper, pressing down along the inner edge of the frame, just to have a little guide, and then I just cut it out. Before I add the paper though, I decided to stain the frame using the special walnut water-based stain. You could totally paint it instead, or even water down some acrylic paint to make your own stain. So I just taped off the edge of the surface next to the wood just to keep the stain from going there. And then I brushed the stain on and wiped it down with a cloth to let that pretty wood grain show through. I stained the entire outer frame, including the sides and the inner edges. I also grabbed 4 paint stir sticks from my local hardware store, and I trimmed them to size to fit across the frame. And I just used my little miter box and saw to trim them down. Then I stained them in the same special walnut color so it all matched. Now I was having second thoughts about this color on the paint stick. I thought it might have been too dark and matchy, but I decided to just go with it, and hopefully it turns out just how I'm imagining it. Once the stain was dry, it was time to put everything together. So I peeled back a corner of the wallpaper and I pressed it down in place in the corner, working from one edge to the other. I'm just smoothing it down as I remove that backing paper to remove any air bubbles. Before I started gluing down the paint sticks, I wanted to see how they look first, and honestly, it just felt a little bit too much of that dark wood. I really wanted the whole frame to feel a little softer, so I decided to tone it down with a layer of Simply White semi-transparent water-based stain from Minwax. I just applied it with a cloth and I wiped it back. It gave kind of like a soft whitewash effect. You could also use watered down acrylic paint for a similar effect as well, or even just paint it solid white. In the center of the frame, I'll be adding this home wood sign from Dollar Tree. I painted it in the color Graphite from Craftsmart, and it's a deep dark gray, and I think it gives it a bit of a softer look as opposed to painting it just black. I love these thick woodwords from Dollar Tree, and they come in a pack of 2, which is nice. Now once everything was dry, I decided to just go with 3 paint sticks instead of 4, and glue that right in the center for the word to rest on. That way they were not covering too much of that pretty paper underneath, and I really love how the paint sticks turned out. They do blend really nice with the background. And finally, I glued the home sign right on top of the paint sticks. And this DIY is done. For the next project, I'll be using this hanging sign from Dollar Tree. I wanted to use up some of that leftover scrap paper from the previous project, so I thought it'd be fun to turn the circle sign into a cute set of coasters. So first I'm just cutting apart the sign to separate the rounds. Then I'm just using pliers to roll out the string. It's stapled in there pretty well, but once I got that part loosened, it made it way easier to get my staple remover underneath and pop out the staples. Next, I'm placing the circles over the peel and stick paper and positioning them where I can get a bit of that gold leaf design inside the shape. And I'm just kind of moving them around a bit to catch the prettiest part of the pattern. Then I just lightly mark around the circle, just going a little past the edge, and then I cut it out. After that, I peel off the backing paper and carefully place it right on top of the round. I just take my time here, smoothing it out as I go and making sure there's no bubbles. Okay, next, I'm taking my little sander and removing the overhang. I make sure to sand downward only, otherwise it can scratch up some of that design, and we don't want that. And this step really gives it a nice clean edge all the way around. I'll be sealing it with some Mod Podge. This one's from Dollar Tree and I'm using the glossy one. I did test out both the matte and the gloss, and you know, they look pretty similar in the finish, so I just went with a glossy. They do also have a dishwasher safe version, which is definitely a more durable finish. I'll be adding some cork on the bottom for a little extra grip. I get these cork sheets at Dollar Tree, and you can definitely cut out a full circle to cover the entire bottom, but I decided to just cut a few small strips and place them right across the bottom instead. Quick and easy, and it still does the job. I'll be letting it dry overnight and then giving it a quick spray with a spray sealer. And this one is all done. For the final DIY, I'll be using a couple of these battery-operated pillar candles. I got these at Walmart, but you can definitely use whatever you have on hand, and I'll be using the rest of the peel and stick paper we used earlier. I'm wrapping the lower portion of the candle with the paper, probably covering about 2/3 from the bottom up, and I'm just measuring how much I'll need, and thank goodness I just had enough left over. I cut the piece so there's about a 1/4 inch of extra length, just to give myself a little wiggle room. Then I peel back a corner of the backing and I start sticking it onto the candle, slowly wrapping it around and smoothing it down as I go so it lays nice and even. I do the same thing with the other larger candle, slowly rolling it in place, making sure the bottom is nice and flush. And that's it. Super easy, but it adds such a soft, pretty touch to the candles. And the best part, since it's peel and stick, you can easily remove it and switch it up whenever you want. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss any of my new upcoming videos. Until next time, bye!